new drinks are now at McDonald's. With refreshers like the Strawberry Watermelon Refresher and the Mango Pineapple Refresher with popping boba. To crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry flavors and cold foam. Who knew ice cold drinks could be so fire? Try them all now at McDonald's.
Refreshers contain caffeine. Copyright 2026, The Coca-Cola Company. Sprite is a registered trademark of The Coca-Cola Company.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Oscar Mayer hot dogs and Heinz mustard. Grill up a dog, add classic yellow mustard, or loaded Chicago style. We all know it's not a cookout without Oscar Mayer and Heinz.
Hello and welcome to episode 467 of the Filmmakers podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio film to high-end TV and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how not to F it up in our very, very humble opinion. My name is Tobias Fees. I'm a writer, director and producer, and today I have the pleasure of doing the intro for you, as Charles is away in Bulgaria again doing really cool stuff, and I'm sure he'll tell you all about it very, very soon. But what's happening in your life, Toby? Well, thanks for asking. I'm doing well. Next Friday I'm celebrating the premiere of the coming-of-age comedy Lovebirds, which I produced. It's written and directed by my bestie Stefan Zeiler, and it's about the emotional roller coaster of a teenage couple before the first time. We'll be starting our festival tour soon, so I'd love it if you kept an eye out for that. And I'm also currently prepping my next film, but I'll tell you more about that next time I get the chance to shamelessly use the intro to talk about my own projects. Because I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, because you already read it in the title, because today we have on one of my absolute favorite filmmakers, Ari Aster. Yes, the Ari Aster, writer-director of masterpieces like Hereditary, Midsommar, and Beau is Afraid. Giles and Dom, primo host Lenoir, sat down with him to chat all about his latest feature, Eddington. In May 2020, a standoff between a small-town sheriff and major sparks a powder keg as neighbor is pitted against neighbor in Eddington, New Mexico, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Austin Butler. I mean, the list goes on. In their chat, they also talk about Ari Aster's writing process, where his ideas come from, the horror genre, shot listing, and at the end, Ari Aster even shares one piece of advice for young filmmakers. I haven't seen Eddington yet, but it's easily one of my most anticipated movies of 2025. And after listening to this chat, I'm even more excited. So, get ready, because this is Charles Alderson, Dom Lenoir, chatting with the one and only Ari Aster. Enjoy.
Hey Ari, how are you, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
Do you know what? I'm pretty good. Darn hot. It's a beautiful day here. Everything's going well. Very well. Thank you for asking. It's very kind of you.
But how are you doing over? What a film. I mean, we watched this in the Universal lot in London yesterday, and it was such an amazing, like, big screen experience. It's the kind of movie that doesn't get made that much anymore. It's got kind of awards season sort of style to it. It's got that amazing, like, very subtle sort of level of comedy, and then it becomes this entirely horrifying and plausible kind of thriller towards the end. I mean, there's so much going on. I just love to know how are you sort of feeling about the whole release?
Well, I'm very proud of the film. I love the film. And, it's a film that's about polarization. And so we were expecting the response to be polarized. And I think it's been polarized in a good way. It feels like nobody comes out of the film without feelings about it. The worst thing that could happen is for people to respond with a shrug. And we haven't been getting shrugs. So, it's been kind of a ride releasing it in the States, and now I'm excited for it to play in the UK.
Yeah, you must be. So there's different kind of audience, isn't it, as well? But a special kind of audience, and everyone sees things differently. Have you noticed that in the past as well with other films that you've made? Do different audiences in different territories, take to it differently?
Yes, I found that it depends on what the film is.
Okay.
I expect Eddington to play especially differently in other territories because it's so American. At the very least, it'll be reaching English-speaking audiences in the UK, because I find that there's so many scenes in the film where people are talking while reading on their phones that even the subtitling is going to become very distracting for people in other territories. Especially Beau is Afraid, which has a very specific humor, and humor is something that travels differently. Which I would say the same thing for Eddington, which is also a black comedy. I imagine the humor of the film will travel differently. And then, for instance, Midsommar was really interesting. It was like a huge hit in Japan, which makes sense.
Why? Why does it make sense?
Why does it make sense? There's a cosplay culture there. I think the outfits, the aesthetic, it makes sense now that the aesthetic would be very appealing to people in maybe Japan or Korea or something. So it's always interesting to see which film plays particularly well or maybe not well at all in other territories. So yeah, anyway, we could talk about it for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just sort of going on to how people, my response from that when I got to the end is like, this is an absolutely wild story. This can't be real. And then I looked into it, it's like, it's based on a true story. And then it's not based on a true story. It's kind of a mixture somewhere in the middle. And it was just so interesting to think that things in this ballpark can even go on in America, and yet they do. And also that kind of contrast between, the UK and America, how we dealt with COVID as well, especially like the American side is way more fun and, it seems a lot more rebellious. How did you kind of set the tone in terms of fact versus fiction, and also kind of setting, the humor, the genre, and this very like distinct kind of tone and mood that you've kind of created with not only this, but all your films? Like there's a lot of layers to the genre and your directing vision going on.
Well, the movie is about people living in different realities, and it's about it. The project of the film for me was about pulling back as far as I could to describe the structure of reality at the moment, which is that nobody can agree on what is happening. And, I wanted to make a Western that was inflected by a modern realism, which is another way of saying that all the characters live in the internet. And they're all looking at the world through different distorted windows. And it's about what happens when people start knocking up against each other in their individual silos, and the new logic that comes out of that. And I would say that it's not really based on any true stories, but it is based on it's based on the environment. And I guess, of course, there are things that were really happening in the world that invade this world, right? Like BLM and of course, the masking mandates and it was Antifa and it's a movie that's about a bunch of paranoid people who all know that something is wrong, and that big power is working in terrible ways, but nobody agrees on what that thing that is wrong is. And so it was important to me that this movie about a bunch of paranoid people eventually become paranoid itself. So the film itself becomes possessed by their worldview. I can't say there because everybody has a different worldview in the film, but one person's in particular.
Yes. Yeah. When you're writing something like this, and obviously you've written all your films as well, how do you start the process? Because, it's like, as Dom said, it's pretty out there, it's crazy, it's cool, all the things we've just talked about as well. And you've just said, Do you plan this? Do you go, okay, I've got a seed of an idea? We'd love to know where your ideas come from and how then you write that down, how you put that onto paper or how you put it onto, your laptop. What is your process?
The process was a little bit different in Eddington because, no matter what, I'm always just taking notes and kind of just collecting ideas, and I try not to write for as long as I can. But I was in the middle of writing Beau is Afraid in 2020.
Right.
And I suddenly felt that I needed to make a movie about that moment. And it was in late May, early June 2020 that I felt like whatever's happening right now, I don't know where we're going, but this will never not be relevant. So I'm just going to take this week and I'm going to write something really quickly. And I'm going to get it on
a week. I love it.
Well, I chose the week, and then it took me about 3 weeks to write.
Wow. That's really quick, Ari. That's amazing.
That's quick for the first draft. Yeah. But part of that process was, okay, this movie is, a big part of this is coming from me being on Twitter and going crazy on Twitter. So what I did was I started a bunch of burner accounts or burner profiles on Twitter. And I got myself into different algorithms.
Okay, yes. Clever.
And that was really useful, especially because I found that I couldn't get out of the algorithms. And I was trying much harder than I was in my own, because when you're in your own, it's kind of curated for you. Sometimes weird gets in there and you just try to avoid it.
Try not to watch it again. Oh, stop, show me this stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But but that was a very big part of the process. And then the other major part of the writing process for me was when I started rewriting it, when I was editing Beau, and I flew back out to New Mexico. I'm from New Mexico. I grew up there. My family still lives there. I
love it there. Amazing place. Yeah.
I do too. I have a complicated relationship with the place, but I've come to love it. And I drove around the state for a while, and I went to different counties and talked to sheriffs. I went to many, many, many different small towns, and I spoke to public officials, police chiefs, mayors. I went to pueblos and I spoke to as many people as I could find there. And I got as broad a picture of the political climate of New Mexico as possible. And New Mexico is a very specific place. It's a blue state, but most of the small towns are red. And in that process of talking to people, meeting people, asking them especially about COVID, but also about, their relationship to the governor, their relationship to, the government at large. While I was writing it, while I was making the film, Biden was president. So it was a very different world. And I found that the movie kind of got away from me in that process in a very valuable way. And I met a lot of people who, at that point, the script was kind of written, so I knew who the characters were, and I knew what I was and I knew what the movie was, but I met a lot of people that ended up being really valuable models for many of the characters in the film.
So just going on to that, because I was very interested in how this developed with casts as well, and also the kind of characters that you develop in this, because there's a lot of characters that you're very, a lot of people play it safe and they have the heroes as thoroughly likable characters and they do no wrong, and the villains are super villainous, and you've got a lot of very complex grey characters in this that do a lot of questionable choices along the way, and you sort of flip between different protagonists. So I'd be interested in finding how you find that balance between, sort of likable, dislikable, where to sort of have your heroes and how heroic, and also how that changed when you got into the casting your leads sort of process.
Well, not much changed in the casting as far as who the characters were or what they were playing. Things always change in your conversations with the actor, even if they're in ways that are, that don't have anything to do with the, dialogue or the writing. But, something is always discovered that I could never do on my own. That's the beauty of working in the collaborative arts, is that the movies kind of get away from you in ways that you can't anticipate. And that's that's if you let them, but even if you don't let them, it's still going to happen. Or even if you dig your heels in, it'll still find a way to happen. But as far as likability, or I would say I never really think about that, but I want to make films that are empathic, and I don't ever want to be condescending to my characters, even if they believe things I don't believe. I want to tap into how they got there, why they're there, and in the writing of those people, kind of find a way for me to believe it myself as I'm writing it, And so, if anything, with Joe, I was kind of aware of the film, functioning as sort of a roller coaster ride of like audience sympathy, where where suddenly he's somebody that, where in the beginning he's somebody that, depending on what your convictions are, maybe he is something of a heroic figure. Maybe he's, maybe you might see him as a buffoon.
The Joaquin Phoenix character, obviously for our listeners when they've not seen it.
Oh yes, Joe Cross, played by Joaquin.
Because you do feel sorry for him. Like, especially, there's certain moments that are like just so memorable, like him being slapped and not doing anything about it, or his fight being, with the homeless guy being filmed. There's certain bits early on that I think really get the sympathy on side, and then you flip it later on, like, as you said, which is really interesting.
Yeah, you flip it, and then you're, so the idea is to maybe bring you to bring you very close to this man. And maybe that's something that's very simple for you because he believes what you believe. Maybe that's a little bit more difficult for certain audiences because maybe he doesn't believe what they believe. I wanted him to make sense in the first half, like very clear sense. Again, whether you agree with him or not, and then he does something that will either be seen as a betrayal for certain people, or will be seen as
heroic.
Some people might be thrilled with what he ends up doing, but it's meant to be. Our relationship with him as our surrogate should be complicated all the way through, and he goes through a gauntlet, and we kind of go through a gauntlet with him.
Yes, and when you're writing that, then are you thinking of the structure at the time, or it's so interesting to know how writers work sometimes, how we work, how our listeners work on the writing side of it. Do you just say find ideas? Do you put plot points down? Do you structure it that way, or do you just write and see what comes out? You find your characters.
No, I'm always thinking about the structure, and this is a film that, this is a film that is in many ways meant to. There are a lot of threads here, and this is a film where, a lot of things get resolved, but I really wanted there to be a feeling of irresolution by the end.
Okay.
Or unresolution. I don't know.
No, it's a good word. We'll go with it. Yeah.
We'll make it a word.
We'll all look it up later. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the word now.
I got to look it up. I might have made it up. Maybe it's real. And it's a film that's kind of it's looking to the past, sort of, even though I think we're still living in. We haven't metabolized 2020 because we're still kind of living in whatever happened during lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's a way of getting at the present by looking at the very recent past, and. It's a film that's also kind of tilting towards the future, looking at the future. And so I would say when I was thinking about the structure, when I was thinking about where I was taking the film, I just knew that I wanted the ending to be desolate. And I knew that I wanted there to be kind of this like queasy, like unfinished, like we're not unfinished. Well, this feeling that, the track that we've been on this film, like we're still there. Like as it closes, we're still there, and what are the questions that come with that? Like, do we want to stay on this path? What is in our power when it comes to questions of staying on this path? What which of our beliefs are and our most like strongly held convictions are really ours? How much is being fed to us? What is possible anymore? At this point, because it feels like we're living through an experiment that has already gone very badly wrong, and nobody at the levers has any interest in slowing it down. In fact, it feels like jetpacks are being strapped to it.
Yeah, it's the Titanic, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Just go faster. We'll get through it.
And so those are the questions on the film's mind, and I was kind of just trying to bake those questions into the structure.
And when you were doing that, were you thinking about directing it at the same time? Were you thinking about shots? It's interesting as a director who also writes. When you're writing, are you visualizing it? Are you seeing it that way?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, I'm trying not to do that at all when I'm writing the film, because I want to be just focused on story and character. And then when I get into this shot listing phase, I try to shoot it in a way, or I try to design the shots in a way that just supports the story, supports character. I'm very concerned with point of view. That's always kind of the question when you're designing shots for me is what am I doing here with point of view? Whose point of view is this? What is the most effective way to dramatize this, to shoot it, to where I'm not being very insightful here, or like it's pretty banal, but I would say that I can smell from a mile away a shot that has been imposed on a film.
Yes, yeah.
And that is something I try to avoid. Maybe it's easier to.
Yeah. So I mean, do you try and sort of stick to rules? Like, okay, this film really is about this character. It's about Joaquin Phoenix until this point, or in this scene we want to sort of get more of this side. I mean, how are those sort of decisions? And also, I think a really important part of that is where it flips into thriller, because I felt it was a very smooth transition, but it does kind of flip from like a really intriguing character study, sort of setting the town, setting the political climate, and then it becomes like a full-blown thriller, and it does it with like, you don't even notice it. You're just suddenly in this, epic kind of shootout sort of sequence as the film sort of culminates.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that is just intuitive, It's kind of clear when you're kicking into thriller territory, and so I find that, I've seen plenty of movies, and so I have it in my kind of DNA. I've got it in my system, my DNA. If anything, I try to avoid watching movies when I'm designing shots, because I know these. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I try more and more to avoid flourishes that are not supportive of the story.
It's interesting because, looking at your career, the films you've made, I mean, I love them. Beau's Afraid is a fantastic film. I absolutely adored it. But you broke out with Hereditary, as a debut movie, and it smashed it out of the park. It's just incredible. We've got to talk, because there's a lot of our listeners who are first-time filmmakers who want to make a film. And the fact that obviously your shorts are done incredibly well. And obviously that brought you so much attention. But we do have to talk about how that first film for you, because I know it took a while to get made. And really interesting to know how you feel about it now. looking back? Was that the right thing that it took time? Was it the right thing that you pushed to direct it? Just be really nice to know how you feel now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I of course I pushed to direct it because I'm a director. And I have immense respect for screenwriters, but it sounds like a very hard life writing a screenplay, giving it away to somebody.
Yes, to ruin it. Yeah,
like I could direct somebody else's screenplay more. I think that's easier to get my head around than handing off one of my own screenplays.
I totally agree. Yes.
And I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to. With every film you make, with hindsight, there are things you regret, things that you would do differently, and things that you're proud of. And I would say, that's what gets you to the next one, right? Is it's like, okay, now all right, like I liked this. I'm really proud of that. Maybe that I would have, if I had a little bit more time, or if I, especially when you're in the edit, there's always a feeling of like, God, get me back onto the set. Like I know now what to do here. Yeah, no, I mean, look, you asked, was it right that it happened when it happened? Absolutely. I tried to get a feature made for 10 years. That's how long it took, maybe about 8 years after school. And it was torture getting there. I felt like I was being constrained. I felt like, get me out there. I'm ready to make a movie. And that's why I made shorts, was just to keep sharp and keep practicing. And of course, those shorts now I can't watch. I'm totally embarrassed by them. I wish I could wipe the internet of them.
No way. That's amazing. Wow.
Well, it's all, it's film school. I see those shorts. I see those shorts as film school. And in some ways I see the features as film school. I'm always learning, but I will say that, when people ask me advice lately, I try to, I think the one useful thing that I've been able to like kind of dredge up is, it takes forever to get the film made, and it feels like it's taking way too long. And then right when it starts to happen, it goes way too fast. It's a very good idea to take the time where nothing's happening and prepare for when it might happen, because it once you're on that track, like the train, sometimes you'll just be wishing you could slow it down.
I mean, just what are some of the, maybe if there was any moment you have in particular where you were stuck? I mean, I know Hereditary, it's sort of in the horror territory, that might have been an easier sell than something else. But I mean, in general, like, you make very complex films, the kind of films a lot of our filmmakers would like to make, but are very hard to get made. I mean, are there any moments where you've had a sort of breakthrough or extra tips on top of getting something that's, an easy sell made, and how you maybe got past that, if there's anything that sort of springs to mind?
Well, I mean, there was something strategic in starting with a horror movie. There are certain genres that are, I would say, that are more friendly to the idea of smuggling. Smuggling whatever you really want to do into.
Yes.
And I like the horror genre because it's it makes virtues of qualities that other genres reject. For instance, like darker material, uglier material, things that are maybe that are painful. Suddenly, if you're adapting them well to the genre, you can be maybe more honest than other genres would allow without alienating people. So, speaking from my own experience, that, I intuited that it would be easier to make a horror film first. There was a period where I tried to make a Western first, sort of like the earliest of what Eddington might be now. And I couldn't do it. But horror.
Yeah, it's the gateway film.
It's a gateway, and I love the genre. I'm going to come back to it.
Great. You could say that your films have horror in them. It's very much part of your DNA as well. I think that a lot of you could say that, Beau's Afraid is a bit of a horror at times. It's pretty dark.
Yeah, psychological horror for sure.
And Midsommar for sure. So as much as they're not necessarily labeled as horrors.
You could also say they're all comedies in a sense.
The comedies, they're hilarious comedies. Farrelly Brothers comedies.
Well, there's I mean, you guys in the UK, you stretch it pretty far. I mean, Chris Morris, Blue Jam.
Oh, we love Chris. Yeah.
That's about as dark as you can get, and it makes me laugh more than anything.
Yeah.
Brass eye, but especially Jam. Especially Blue Jam and Jam.
I know.
Yeah.
They still make me chuckle because they're so incredibly dark, but so brilliantly sort of pertinent and funny. But listen, Ari, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. I mean, the Eddington is just such a fantastic, gripping, and also hilarious movie, and you've really got the tone absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your time. You take care, and good luck with everything, with the next comedy, horror or western, whatever it is. Probably all three. Cheers, Ari.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.